Moments when you're certain your decisions come from logic, reflection, and deliberate thought. There are moments when you believe you're making a rational choice, but later when you look back, something feels off. The choice seemed reasonable, yet it didn't come from the place you thought it did. This is not a personal flaw. It's a universal human mechanism. The truth is simple. Your brain is not designed to be logical. It is designed to be fast, efficient, emotionally protective, and often misleading. Before you start reasoning, before a thought forms in language, your brain has already made a decision. It uses shortcuts, cognitive biases, to interpret the world quickly, even if inaccurately. These biases shape your behavior long before you notice anything happening. Today, we're going to explore the hidden patterns behind those biases, not to fix you, not to make you perfectly logical, but to help you understand the invisible mechanisms guiding your choices every day. Let's begin with the first major bias, the bandwagon effect. When you follow the crowd, without realizing it, you might believe you form your opinions independently. But your brain is wired to avoid social isolation. It looks for cues from others and assumes that the majority must know something important. This is the bandwagon effect. You adopt ideas, trends, behaviors, not because they make sense logically, but because they signal belonging. You buy the same products people around you buy. You repeat opinions you've heard in your social environment. You gravitate toward whatever seems popular. Your brain mistakes social proof for truth, the spotlight effect. You think everyone is watching you. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like all eyes were on you? As if every flaw, every movement, every expression was being examined? Most people feel this way, and most of the time, it isn't true. This is the spotlight effect, a bias that makes you dramatically overestimate how much other people notice you. Your brain puts you at the center of the story, but everyone else is doing the same in their own minds. They are focused on themselves, not on you. Why biases exist? The brain prioritizes survival over accuracy. Your brain evolved to respond quickly. Accuracy was useful, but speed was essential. If early humans stopped to analyze every sound, they would not survive. Biases developed as mental shortcuts to make fast decisions with incomplete information. Today, these shortcuts still exist, but the threats are no longer predators or natural dangers. They are social situations, emotional discomfort, uncertainty, and overload. Biases are not errors in your thinking. They are the brain's attempt to protect you. Confirmation bias. Why your brain prefers familiar beliefs. Your brain doesn't search for truth, it searches for consistency. If you already believe something, your mind becomes biased toward information that supports it and dismisses anything that challenges it. You notice the evidence that confirms your opinion. You ignore the evidence that contradicts it. You build arguments to defend what you already think. Confirmation bias preserves identity. It shields your worldview from discomfort. It makes your beliefs feel stable even when they're outdated. This is why arguments rarely change anyone's mind. The brain protects what it already believes. Availability bias. What comes to mind feels true. When a memory is vivid, the brain assumes it is important. If you recently saw a dramatic story, your mind inflates the significance of that event. You feel afraid of flying because of a single news headline. Not because the risk increased, but because the memory is emotionally charged. You judge your relationship based on one recent argument, ignoring the months of calm before it. Whatever is easiest to recall feels like the dominant truth, but it rarely represents reality. Negativity. Bias the mind overvalues. Danger. Your brain stores negative experiences more deeply than positive ones. This bias was essential for ancient survival. Remembering threats prevented harm, but today it means one criticism outweighs 10 compliments. One embarrassing moment shapes your self-image more than years of ordinary social interaction. One rejection hurts more than multiple successes feel good. Your mind clings to the negative because it believes danger must be remembered. Anchoring bias, the first impression, controls the rest. The first number, the first idea, the first impression. It anchors your thinking. If the first price you see is high, every following price seems reasonable by comparison. If the first description of a person is negative, every later detail is interpreted through that lens. Anchoring shapes expectations before you have a chance to think. Biases don't show up all at once. They slip into your perceptions quietly. They shape your judgment long before you realize you're interpreting the world through a filter. To understand how deeply they influence you, we need to look at the subtle ways they appear in daily life. Let's start with one more powerful bias, the fundamental attribution error. You misjudge people instantly. When you make a mistake, you explain it through circumstance. I was tired. I was overwhelmed. I didn't have all the information. But when someone else makes a similar mistake, you explain it through their character. They're careless. They don't try hard enough. They're irresponsible. Your brain jumps to conclusions about others because it lacks context. It fills in the gaps with assumptions that feel true, even when they're not. This bias fuels conflict. It damages relationships. It creates misunderstandings that could be prevented with a moment of awareness. Why these biases matter? Biases shape your reality. They determine what you notice, what you ignore, and what you believe. They influence who you trust, who you judge, and who you avoid. They affect how you see yourself and how you understand the world. But understanding your biases does not mean eliminating them. They are built into the structure of your mind. Instead, it means you learn to work with them instead of being controlled by them. Awareness gives you choice, and choice creates clarity. How to recognize bias in real time. Bias doesn't announce itself. It hides behind thoughts that feel natural, but there are signs. Small indicators that your mind is simplifying the world. Look for these moments. 1. You feel immediate certainty. Certainty is often emotional, not logical. 2. You defend your opinion before examining it. That's confirmation bias. 3. A recent example dominates your judgment. That's availability bias. 4. A single negative detail outweighs multiple positives. That's negativity bias. 5. Your first impression shapes your entire interpretation. That's anchoring. 6. You assume you understand someone's behavior without knowing their situation. That's the fundamental attribution error. These signs do not mean you're wrong. They mean your brain is using shortcuts. Noticing them is the beginning of understanding. How to reduce the influence of bias. You cannot remove bias, but you can weaken its grip. Here's how. 1. Slow down your interpretation. Bias loves speed. It thrives on impulsive judgments. If you pause before reacting, you interrupt the automatic pattern. 2. Ask, what else could be true? This single question expands your perspective and challenges the narrow focus of bias. 3. Separate the feeling from the fact. If an emotion appears first, don't assume it reflects reality. It might be a bias in disguise. 4. Treat your first impression with suspicion. Anchoring happens instantly. Reevaluate once you have more information. 5. Look for information that contradicts your belief. Confirmation bias hates contradiction, but contradiction is often where truth begins. None of these methods make your brain unbiased, but they give you control where you previously had none. The deeper meaning behind it. All biases are not the enemy. They are part of the machinery of human life. They help you navigate uncertainty. They keep your identity stable. They give you quick answers when time is short, but they also narrow your perception. They limit your understanding. They distort your judgments of yourself and others. When you recognize them, you don't become perfectly rational. You become more conscious, and consciousness is far more powerful than logic. It allows you to choose your response instead of reacting automatically. It gives you space between the stimulus and the decision. It opens a window where clarity can enter, closing and CTA. Your brain shapes your choices long before you're aware of it. But the moment you understand the mechanisms behind your thinking, the moment you can name the biases that guide you, you begin to see your life with new eyes. Biases may control your perception, but awareness controls your future decisions. If you want more videos that explore human behavior, psychology, and the hidden patterns inside the mind, subscribe to the channel. Here, the goal is not to be perfect, not to be purely logical, but to understand quietly, precisely, and honestly why we do what we do.